'Cause I don't have time. 'Cause I don't have time to not fuck this world. 'Cause I don't have time to not fuck this world. 'Cause I don't have time to not fuck this world. 'Cause I don't have time to not fuck this world. 'Cause I don't have time to not fuck this world. I don't have time to not fuck this world. Said I don't have time to not fuck this world. I don't have time to not fuck this world. I don't have time to not fuck this world. And I don't have time to not fuck this world. I do not have time to fuck this world. And I don't have time to not fuck this world. I don't have time to not fuck this world. No, I don't have time to not fuck this world. No, I don't have time to not fuck this world. Said I don't have time to not fuck this world. I don't have time to not fuck this world. I said I ran out of time to not fuck this world. And I don't have time to not fuck this world. I said all I gotta do is fucking fuck this world. Said don't have time to not fuck this world. I don't have not time to not fuck this world. I not don't have time to not fuck this world. I said I gotta fucking fuck this world, bitch. Motherfucking fuck. Gotta fuck this motherfucker. Gotta fuck bitch. Gotta fuck this world. Gotta motherfucking gotta fuck this world. I don't not have time to not fuck this. Not have time to not fuck this world. I don't have time to not fuck this world. I don't have time to not fuck this world. Do you know that? I don't have time to. There's goddamn trees growing outside of my apartment. There's goddamn plants in the earth, you know. There's goddamn the other earth, the rest of the earth, you know, besides where you are. There's goddamn other countries. I hear there's goddamn, like, the Middle East or something like that, and people are living there too. I mean, you get, like, the goddamn Atlantic Ocean, and there's, like, there's people, you know, there's, like, islands out there, and it's, like, as far as I know, there's like just goddamn people living there or whatever. They're just kind of like on the islands, but that's their domain and they live inside. They inhabit the islands. It's like there's just like goddamn people in like whatever goddamn island on the earth is kind of what anthropology is about, right? Isn't that what geography is saying? Like, well, there's goddamn this island, and so if you travel there, there's probably some goddamn people on it, and like there's the goddamn Galapagos Islands, and those are just kind of like, you know, they're your standard island chain, an island chain that you remember, the Galapagos. And then another islands that you want to remember is the U.S. Virgin goddamn Islands, and they're just like next to goddamn Cuba. But as far as I know, it's just like, as far as anybody knows about them, there's multiple, and they're out in that Cuba area. There's just like, because down there you get like goddamn Mexico, but the goddamn Yucatan is kind of like mystical or whatever, because like Mormons or Scientologists, one of the two, I think it's Mormons, think that the Yucatan is some special place regarding the birthright of humanity or some shit. It is whatever, like the goddamn Polynesian islands, and there's lots of places that you can reference within a given earth, you know. And so what we did was we actually saw too that there were a lot of different places in the earth, and most of the different places that you can talk about are actually islands, because there's only so many land masses, but most of the land masses are actually islands. Like, even though, because it doesn't matter how big a landmass is to call something a landmass. Most landmasses are, well, actually every landmass is an island, because in order for it to be defined to have mass, it has to be bordered off from other things. This is the second podcast I made today. The first one I made is called Comedy, and now I'm like, oh, you know what was so fun about that? Everything. And so then I started a new one. I'm like, why don't you say something else? And here I am, and now I understand that my soul is blank and hollow, and I actually don't have anything to say, because maybe I'm just sad, but I like being sad or whatever. But I just feel like my reality is just within my grasp, you know, because why not pretend that you're just some sort of psycho to other people? I don't see why not. Why don't I just go up to strangers and I'm like, well, my reality is within my grasp, and whatever I imagine is already my reality. And if you're not part of what I'm imagining, then, well, I'm just glad to talk to you. You know, if I was just like that, well, I'm just glad to talk to you, but I am special. I already feel myself to be special. I already feel myself, and I am special. I felt myself and then recognized through that I felt me that I was special because I knew through touch, through physical touch, because that's my love language. Touching myself is my love language, and that's really too bad, but not everybody can. But there's 6 groups. There's the 5 that you know, and then there's touching yourself. But actually, it's part of physical touch, so it's one of the main groups. And also, love is displayed in physical touch, as you know, not sex. It's physical, the physical world. What about sex? Is that one of the love languages? No, physicality is a love language, not sex. Oh, physicality? What about sex? Having sex? No, there's not. There's only that some people like to know about physical love, and that's their primary way of communicating love. And by the way, there's only 5 ways to talk about love. We've broken it down. There's actually only 5 definitions. It was discovered. And so there's only 5 love languages. There's 5 ways to speak love. And you get to be one of the 5 in a Divergent or Maze Runner sort of sense where you get to choose which one you are. Or, I mean, that you're just put in, like, the Sorting Hat chooses you to give gifts or whatever the fuck. Like, well, the Sorting Hat chose your love language to be acts of service. The most maligned of all love languages. Consideration through service. Who identifies as that? Only from afar are you identified as having the love language acts of service. You would never share with somebody that that's what your love language was. Because who wants to be that boring of a person that acts of service is your identifiable love language? There's only a couple that you get to actually say in real conversation, as long as people are carrying on identifying themselves as that. Like, well, I like to give gifts. I don't really want to give a gift. I don't care about receiving or giving a gift. Well, actually, I like to receive gifts. It's just like I just want it to be very specific to me with the love that's involved with giving and receiving gifts. I want, like, there's a pretty good chance if I receive a gift that I'm not going to like it, because I don't care about the realities of other people or like what they want me to look like with their gift or what they envision my life to be, because I like to see myself as above other people, and so I don't really like when I have to receive their gifts and act like they understood me enough to send me a gift, because I like to turn that cold shoulder, you know what I'm talking about? But at least with regard to gifts, like, I draw a hard line at gifts. Like, I'm not gonna, there's nothing, I'm just talking about giving gifts and that's your love language. My love language is giving gifts. Well, get a better one. I don't know, just don't be that. Why don't you just be the be around people one, or the words of encouragement? I'd say that words of encouragement is the last love language that I am. In fact, I think I don't really partake or engage in any of the 5 love languages. I don't send it out or receive it. If in my world, like, ideally, I am not relative to any one of the 5 love languages. Like, not any one of them can be said to be me, because I want to live in a world where love is stronger than the 5 love languages. And that's the world that I want to live in. I want to live in a world where I shit on people who like the 5 love languages. I just do. Because why do I need to understand that narrative of love? Why do I need to understand somebody else's narrative of anything besides my own? How can I? How can I understand somebody else's narrative? Like when I'm watching a movie with somebody and it's a movie that they like and they're like excited about it, so they're like trying to gear me up for the exciting parts. Like I really don't want to hear your narrative of it. I just want the only narrative that I can have of it is my own. Like I will evaluate the movie. I don't want you to inject any of your optimism towards it, because that's just going to make me hate it. And also don't infringe on my territory. And also I'm kind of touchy and defensive. So I want a specific form of love, and it is not within one of the 5 love language categories. I want my own love. You know, like maybe because that's what this podcast episode is about, is I guess just fuck the 5 love languages. The 5 love languages. No, that's for old people. It's for old people. It's not for me. If you like the 5 love languages, don't tell me that I should see them as valid and relevant, because I don't. That is not my narrative on it. My narrative is not to include the love languages into my presuppositions on the world. That's for old people to put stock into the 5 love languages, because it's just like a baby boomer ideology, like narrative of events. I mean, it came from a book. It's just it's a really nice idea, romantic idea for the way that things could exist, or the way that you can see people as being in one of 5 categories. And of course everybody gets the delusional joy of categorizing themselves as one of the 5 so that they can feel special. Is that the only way that we can feel special, is to say that we're one of 5 things, when the only way we can say that we're special is to validate 4 equivalent personas to the persona that we are in our heads, when you can just realize that everybody is validly different from you. Like, to say that it's amazing that people fit into these 5 categories is to say that it's amazing that people are different from each other, is ultimately what you're getting at. And you could realize the full extent of that by realizing that, you know what, everybody does have their own authority, which is their own mind. Like, everybody has their own individuality, and everybody is different from everybody else. Like, it is true already, so you don't have to go to great lengths to emphasize that people are different. You can understand that you're special. You don't have to translate it through this medium of the 5 love languages. You can just understand yourself to be special anyway. And so the 5 love languages, like, I'm gonna make you puke out that you ever thought the 5 love languages were true. I'm going to make you puke it out like you got a guilty conscience about it. You got a guilty conscience because you're carrying around a limited view on love through the 5 love languages medium. Yeah, I don't carry on through that. I carry on through a more universal medium. It's called love. It's called not love divided 5 ways. It's called love. You ever heard about love as not divided 5 ways, but as multiplied, the same way that love is actually multiplicative, and it doesn't runs out, but it only gets better? Love's doesn't runs out. It only gets more multiplicative. When you have a baby, what do you do with that love? You multiply that love. There ain't nothing but more love to be had. Only love can be made through having it, and there's only 80 billion different versions of love to be multiplied with the love of people around you. Only 5 different kinds people of love. Do you know that ain't not 5, not only be kinds 5? There's more than that love kinds. Did you know that 40 is at least how many loves? 40 is at least how many loves that I know how to acknowledge in my life. First, I got the love of computers. I got the love of other people. I got the love of having fun. And then I digress. But those would be 3 of the 40 if I was to name 40 of them. The love of having fun. That's my love language. That's probably the lamest one possible, though. The love of having fun. No, we'll stick with gift giving, because that's the shittiest love language you could manage to speak into existence. The love of having fun. We're going to give gifts and love that way, thank you. The same way that authority has been given for love to be distributed to 5 different definitions. Love is the 5 love languages, thank you. Do you know what love? It's composed entirely of the 5. whether you give or you get, it doesn't matter which one. You're not defined by if you give or you get love, but I guess everybody is a different getter of love than they are a giver of love. Well, actually, my getting love language is words of encouragement, but my giving love language is acts of service, baby, acts of service, baby, acts of service, baby, acts of service. All I ever give is acts of service. I do acts of service. I get acts of service. I like acts of service. I do acts of service. I want acts of service. I try acts of service. I give acts of service. I gave acts of service. I gave love. That was the only way I could do it. I tried to give love the other day by giving a gift, but that's not me because I can only give love through an act of service because that's my definition of love giving. My love getting, though, is words of encouragement, words of encouragement, words of encouragement. I get words of encouragement. I take them in encouragement. I take them in encouragement. I soak them in and absorb them. I get words of encouragement. Words of encouragement. Words of encouragement. Words of I do. Words of I get that. I get. Words of I get that. I get. Words that I get. I get. Words of encouragement. Get. Words of encouragement. Get. Words of encouragement. Do you know that I'm one of the 5? Do you know that I signed myself over to words of encouragement this morning when I chose a love language so that I could be identified as finally giving love? Now I can give love properly because I know which one I am, because I defined it, because there's a word to call my love. Thank God, because I was starting to think that love was indescribable. I was starting to think that there's something transcendent about love, but somebody devised a system where there's 5 only loves, and that's really digestible to me. Oh, the world is so much more practical when I can compartmentalize everything, including love. I was starting to feel like I couldn't define love to myself and thereby control and manipulate it. But thank God somebody devised 5 loves. Oh, man, because if somebody didn't do that, there is no love in my life. If I'm not gift giving. Oh man, I want to give those gifts. I want to give those gifts. Don't you receive gifts and then receive love? If you don't, then if you don't receive gifts and then not receive love, I'm gonna take my love to a whole nother level. I got gifts. You're doing all 5 love languages. The power of 5. So you're like Power Rangers, but like a Power Ranger that harnesses the power of all 5, or like when they connect their wrists or whatever, is what I gather from what a Power Ranger does, or the potential they have, is that they can unite all their wrists. Love. Gift giving. Acts of service. Quality time. Physical touch, being around people, the 5 love languages, being around people. That's a love language, being around people. Is there any limitation you want to help me understand about that? So like I can hate 5 different people in a room, but my love language is quality time because it's not couldn't be defined to be any of the other 4. And like that's just the default if no love can be found in you. Well, quality time, I guess. He's around people, isn't he? So that's love? Being around people? Okay. I feel like some of those love languages are a bit more weighty than others. Like, it's kind of more weighty to have sex with somebody than to hang out with them for 20 minutes. Isn't it? Isn't that more difficult, like more expressive of your love? Is when you make it. What about making love? Is that one? No, that falls under the physical area of love. It's kind of a gray area. We don't really call it anything besides that contact is made between humans, but we understand love to be some form of contact, and so it's in that gray physical whatever, but it's not sex necessarily. It's just physical, like you just happen to be somebody who expresses through physical touch, and it doesn't have to be a guy or a girl. It can be either one. It's genderless, whoever expresses through physical touch the most. But like your 20 minutes, like, oh, he's around people. What if I'm just like hating people and 5 people in a room, but my love language is spending time with them? I guess I'm loving them. The 5 love languages, gift giving, like, well, my love language is gift giving. I guess because that's what I do the most or whatever. That's probably my love language. That's what you'd have to call my love language. You would have to call my love language either gift giving or quality time. But I feel like those are the only two that most people represent in their life. Yo, sex. I heard sex was your love language. Yeah, you heard right. It's always been sex. All I've known is sex. That's the only way I even can describe love to myself is while I'm having sex, is that I understand that there was love had by anybody. But like, so I give gifts, and then, but does that mean that I love to be loving through giving gifts? No, I actually don't really like giving gifts. I just see it as an arbitrary task, but that's how of those five, that's probably the one I do the most frequently. So that right there presents a flaw in the argument. I don't really care about giving gifts. Well, why don't you express your real love language then? Physical touch, you want me to make out with everybody that I see, and physical touch, because the people that tout these five love languages, they kind of want to skirt around physical touch, like, yeah, and there's the sex one, because what's a love language, right? What's a love language without sex at the end of the day, right? Doesn't all love have to be tied back to sex? You know, not all love has to be tied back to sex, according to your opinion. Well, I guess I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying love is all the things. Isn't everything love? Isn't just that I'm in front of you love? I guess that's what you're trying to say, that that being around people is love. His love language is being around. Oh, thanks. That makes me feel nice. His love language was showing up. Oh. Why can't my love language be, like, my love language is my point is, my love language is anything I do in front of you. It's an act of love. Well, anything I do positively, I guess, because negative things aren't really acts of love, because they're not meant to be received well, or received, like, if I say something negative, it is something negative, like, and maybe ultimately doesn't get received well unless it's like a lie I'm telling. I could tell a lie and that is a negative thing ultimately, but it's something that somebody else could receive to be positive. It's like a lie that they believed or whatever. So forget lies in the picture. Like, love doesn't really have anything to do with lies. Like, I feel like love just has to do with truthfulness that you communicate about yourself, and sometimes truthfulness is ugly. Like, so it can be a negative thing, like truthfulness about yourself, because sometimes you reflect negative things that went into yourself, and then what comes out of your mouth is like a negative reaction because you received something negative, you know? So maybe negative and positive things you say are love, like, but it's just like the transmitting of yourself as a person. I feel like love is just whatever happens that results in you connecting to other people, like, as long as people, like, you understanding the humanity of people. So it kind of has to begin with you. Like, you have to understand that the humanity of people and that people's flaws are real. Like, you have to understand that people are limited and failures and are defeated, but you can't look at people's humanity and their defeats in a way that you're just trying to be above them and coddle them and be like, oh, how sad, and have sympathy for them. You have to understand that people do things as a result of them being incapable to do them correctly. If you're recognizing people's imperfections and looking on them fondly, if you're truly looking on them fondly and in a loving way, it's to say that that person is actually too limited to see around, like, what would be the correct or positive thing to express. Like, if somebody's expressing something negatively or expressing something that obviously outlines that they have limitations in their ability to express it, or they're insecure in some way, like you have to look on them lovingly, and that would include understanding that they're just a human like people. I don't know, so maybe it's like, at the end of the day, you understand that people's intentions are good, but that would be impossible to recognize because people think that people's intentions are bad, or at least you have to sift through ones that are seemingly bad, but maybe if you just had enough patience, you could get to the bottom of whatever started somebody's rant or angry thought or anger, you know, like maybe something started it. But that's, you get into a nature versus nurture debate. Like, did things just happen along somebody's lifetime to make them say angry things or come across as grumpy and awful to be around, totally abrasive around people, unrelatable, like, or a psycho or a lunatic, like not acting like a person, but sharing only their conspiracies or their subjectivity on life without recognizing that they're a person in a conversation, somebody who's a lunatic. Like, there's a reason that somebody ends up a lunatic, and I feel, at least to me, maybe that's true, maybe, but that's like a nature versus nurture thing. Like, to me, it's like people and being a lunatic, there's kind of like I feel like there's a reason that thought began. It's just that we're not going to have the patience enough to figure out what the problem is, especially when it's somebody who's clearly a lunatic and it's way beyond the point of you helping them out, because people just develop anxieties when they start off not receiving lots of love. They just develop anxieties and are insecure about stuff, and then say things that either sound hateful or at least sound like things that you don't want to hear or be around, or at least they would ruin like a fun time that you'd have with a group, and therefore you want to exclude that person because of the things they say that make them not appealing to you. Like, whatever. So like, I'm just sorry, my argument right now, what I'm trying to figure out is like, can you say negative things and is that still love? Like, is love always just you communicating yourself? Because you can be like, I hate you, so no, it's not. But you would have to be delusional to start being like, well, actually that was love, when somebody told you I hate you. So that's where it's like, you have to consider more than just their experiences in life led them to do that. Like, you can't just accept an I hate you and be like, oh, that comes from a place of love, because you don't want to be stupid. There's also, you don't want to be stupid when it comes to loving somebody, like, but it has to do with respect, really, like, that you respect somebody enough to love them. Love has to do with respect, like you respect where they're coming from, and so that sometimes it takes a certain amount of time, but for some people, they're just like free with their respect, and they're like, oh yeah, I love you already, I would die for you. And really, I don't feel like that's what love is for. You're not supposed to be free with it. You're not supposed to just be easy, you know. You're not supposed to just have sex with whoever you want. Like, there's some amount of respect. Like, if you respect, then you respect love, I would say. Then you respect the act of loving, or like, then you have a higher standard for love. But like, everybody just has different standards for it. But love is more meaningful when you respect it, right? And love is more meaningful between you and another person when you have respect for them. And so that takes time. It should take time to love somebody, rather than that you have a low standard for love and a low standard for respect for you and others, and therefore love everybody automatically, or just don't deem different people in the world to have different values. Like, because recognizing that love is like, if you respect love enough and then say that love exists at different levels, is you saying that different people are worthy of different respects. And so that has to do with love too, is saying that somebody is worthy of a high enough level of respect that you can love them as that, like over somebody else. But like, and then it has to do with what kind of love are you somebody who has a high standard for love? It takes you a really long time to respect somebody enough to love them, because some people, it's like, well, the standard is so high that they actually never really exhibit love in their life, because they expect too much out of themselves and other people to respect themselves and respect other people, because their standard for respect is too high. So you don't want your standard for respect to be too high, but you have to like respect people in order to love. But it's just different, varies person to person, what their level of respect is, like what their standard is for respecting another person. And I think that would have to do with how much other people have wronged you, or like, because it's easy to respect people when you think that everybody is good. But if you have some knowledge of the world and understand that people are bad, or at least they're not going to fit in line with your vision of the world, or like that your vision is not what's the most isn't the highest value for the world. Like people have competing visions and they interact differently, and like things are just going to happen. Like the more you have knowledge of people, you realize that they're like, I mean, they have their own deal that they want to get through, and so it's not like respecting somebody or loving somebody is that simple, and it doesn't, like, real love and respect doesn't boom, like, you know, like just love and respect, though. But like the 5 love languages, that's what's fun about this. Me talking about, who cares about me talking about love? Who care about, like, here's love from my opinion. Now I'm defining it for you, but like, but I would hold to that it has like a more adaptable way of manifesting itself. Love, it's got a more, you know, it's got more agency. Love has tons of agency. Love can manifest itself in lots of things. That's why we can't define it. That's why everybody writes a billion songs about love, because it's one of the major themes of humanity. And it is that because it's kind of like something we're subject to. You know, you can't grasp love. You can't totally understand it. It's something you're subject to. It's one of the major themes, like same way you're subject to dying, to death, or like, you know, love. It's just like, so we make lots of art about what is love or trying to achieve love, but just like love isn't achievable and perfectly, and that's the whole point, really, to me. The whole point about love to me is that love is not absolute. It's not absolute, and so when you try to engage in it absolutely, or say that somebody is perfect for you, or that there's perfect people out there, or that love is meant to exist perfectly, or that like when you love somebody or have a family that you have to abide by exactly the rules of what it means to love and have a family, or like try to be loving in all the same ways that you've understood and defined love to be in the past. If you try to do that, then you like, that's kind of the same as you approaching love as if love is some sort of absolute that you have to meet all the requirements for in order to achieve. But like, there aren't requirements for love. There really isn't any way to define it. It's not to be understood. I don't think you can formulate your way to loving somebody. It is just like, I mean, it's a feeling first of all, but more importantly, you have to understand that it is like, at least all the entertainment that I consumed growing up, like TV, movies, whatever, that like love is perfect, and that perfect love is possible. And so like the scenes in different shows are meant to show a perfect picture of what love is, but like love doesn't exist absolutely, is the point. Like, you can't love your son perfectly. You can't love your daughter. You can't be a son and love your dad perfectly, or whatever, love your friends perfectly. You can't love your spouse perfectly, because love isn't perfect. It's, even though that's what it sounds like it's supposed to be, because it's love, because it's the highest value, and that's like, we attribute it to be the highest thing, love. But the point is that it isn't definable or absolute, and you can't do anything in order to achieve it. Like, but you can't have perfect, you can't be like, oh, your spouse, like, I love you perfectly, and you can't imagine that you would, because love is only imperfect, and it's only at the point that you understand that it's imperfect that you get it at all, that you get to receive it, that you don't have to put all this expectation on yourself to make your life full of love and romantic ideas of love that will be achieved in the future between you and other people that you have relationships with. You can't make life about like love that you'll achieve one day either, that like your life as romanticized by you is progressing towards some amount of absolute love, because that's not true. That's not rational to think in those terms, because love will never be perfect. There's no relationship you'll ever have that's perfect, and you have to recognize that they're imperfect. But who wants to hear me talk about love? I do, apparently. I want to hear myself talk about love. That's what I did. Okay, 40 minutes, whatever. I'm done. I'm done. 40 minutes is talking about the 5 love languages, but let me talk a bit more about those 5 love languages. Take it home. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Get that 5th love language. Get that 5th love language. What's the 5th? 1, 2, 3, 4. Get that 5th love language. Which the 5th? Get that 5th love language. Which one? I wonder what number 5 is. Did we ever order them? Well, actually, and words of encouragement is the best. Words of encouragement's number one. Number one. I just want... fuck all this anyway. So the 5 love languages, they're believable. I guess people really buy into that. It's not on me to hate what people buy into, but as long as we're here, the 5 love languages, that's not really something to engage in seriously. Like, that's not... I know that somebody wrote a book and then, like, there's kind of this big reaction to it because people like to categorize people. But what they didn't tell you when they wrote that book was actually that it's not really important what they wrote about. It's just important that they wrote a book. So whatever you take from it is just like you probably going too far, because it is just one guy's opinion on what love is, and they split it up into 5 categories. And you know, I don't know if the author would tell you that. I'm sure that he's pretty psyched about the movement he started, but I'll speak for him, because what he means to say is that it's not that great to call yourself a love. But okay, but I think I made my point. I'm tired now. I'm tired of... I just went to some dark places. No, I just like went to some dark places. I can't be that happy for that long. I'm supposed to be happy about this point and say new things about it for a whole hour. Like, I can't hold myself to that. Didn't I already make my point about the 5 love languages? I can't keep hating it in new ways. See, and see you later.